what's up, everybody? I've got a couple things to talk about here. It's been, 10 days since my last video, and, if you don't notice, this is a completely new place. If you've not been around my channel before, I'm in a new location, and you know what? It's a great blessing. Honestly, if you don't know, outside of this, I have another job. This does not sustain anything, and my job has given me a place to live, and it is a very nice place. It's a little bit older, but it's a very nice place and a great neighborhood for me to have my wife and my kid be with us. It's really a great opportunity for us. So while it looks a little older and you see the maybe outdated style, it's fine. It's a great house that we will be able to live in for a long time, and I'm very excited about that. But either way, sorry for my absence. Moving has been a pain. We literally moved maybe 5 minutes down the road, but it's been a nightmare, honestly. So we're now getting to a point where we're kind of settled. As you can see, I'm still got a mess around me. I've got a carpet cleaner over here for whatever that's worth. But either way, there's nothing changing. We're still making videos. We're still doing stuff. And guess what? We're still sponsored by W. W is my favorite energy drink. They're sitting right here behind me. I've got them in the set because why I can't go anywhere without my W, man. It's cost effective. It's just over $1 per drink. And also, it's really one of the greatest tasting energy drinks you can find. So check out w.gg. There is a link in the description, or you can go there and use my code SHRD3R, that's Shredder, for 10% off your order of anything on their website. And let's get right into this video. And before we get into this, one more thing I need to talk about is I'm aware that my lighting is really, really odd. I'm in a weird setup and I've not played with it yet, but I need to get this video out. So mind the lighting, don't mind the lighting, whatever it is, we'll get fixed at some point. But either way, let's get to it. This one, if I haven't said it already, we're ranking how my expectations are going to be for these teams next year at a very early rate, right? We're very early on to this season, this offseason, I should say. The Super Bowl hasn't happened yet, but we've got a week for that, and I'll make a video on that one later this week. But either way, let's go ahead and get into this, starting with how I think these teams are going to be next year. These are my expectations for their offseason, how good I think they'll be. Always there's a team that makes a big jump, a team that makes a big fall. For example, the Commanders last year. No one thought they were going to go from the number 2 pick to the number 2 team in the NFC. But it happened. So, everything's going to be perfect here, but let's get right to it. Let's start with some random teams. Let's go with Green Bay. Green Bay, honestly, I don't know what to think about them. I think they'll be fine. I think they will be. I don't know about Jordan Love just yet. He had a really good season the year before, and this past season was, it was fine. The season was. The playoffs were shaky. Really just shaky for a lot of Jordan Love this year in general. So I'm not going to give them much credit. They need to do something about their weapons. I don't think they have very much talent in that receiver room. It's a solid group, but it's not special. That's for sure. It is definitely not a special group. So yeah, that's a big question mark they got to figure out in and of itself. Moving on from there, let's go to Seattle. Seattle, I'm going to put them in the tier underneath. I don't have a name for this one. It's kind of the flat line. It's kind of a... Yeah, that's what explains it. Seattle, I don't have a lot of hope for them. If they're going to bring back Geno Smith, which I assume they will for another year, I believe this is the last coming year of his contract, but I just don't really see what you have working with him. He's nowhere. There's no future for Geno Smith. He's not really particularly that great right now. Yes, his counting stats were pretty good this past year. He was I think top 5 to 7 in yards this year. But at the same time, Geno Smith is not a guy who's special. He threw a lot because they were down a lot. They had to do a lot of throwing. They threw the ball a lot. That was their identity. But it really just isn't great. It wasn't worth it, and I don't think he's going to be worth it in the long run for them, and that's a big problem for them going into the future. Cleveland, are you aware that you are an NFL team? Are we sure? Do we know? Because you've been terrible for basically your entire history. You got good for 5 minutes, and then you let your franchise quarterback go, and now he's the franchise quarterback elsewhere, right? And then after that, now you have your best defensive player, who I don't think Myles Garrett's the best defensive player in the league, but I think he's one of them, and now he just wants to go because you've been in stupid, and apparently you want to rebuild. And now Joel Bitonio, he's considering retirement if the Browns do enter a rebuild. What are you doing? Cleveland, what are you doing? You're being very dumb. Very, very, very dumb. I don't know. We should bring in relegation into the NFL, where, like soccer does. Relegation is, if you don't know, it's where if you're really bad, a team is promoted to you. So let's bring in I don't know, the Georgia Bulldogs and let them replace the Cleveland Browns, because honestly they're probably or Ohio State. They won the Natty. There you go, another Ohio team. Wow, what am I saying? Ohio State plays in the NFL, the Browns play in college football. Sounds good to me. The Bears, I think we're going to be on a good turn here. They get Ben Johnson. I'm excited about that one. Ben Johnson is a good coach, at least offensive coordinator-wise. I think he could be very good for Caleb Williams and his development. He needs to get his O-line there. Ben Johnson has been known to have really good O-lines through the Detroit stint he was there, and that's something he's probably going to need back. I think that's an absolute requirement. I think a guy like Will Campbell could be a really, really great pick for them, considering he has guard tackle flexibility. But that's a lot to go into. They need to make a trade and probably to get some better assets as well. You know, they could be a part of a Myles Garrett trade. They absolutely could be. They would lose out on Will Campbell with that, but it could be done. They do need another edge rusher, so who knows? I think they'll have a good offseason, though. I expect a lot for them coming into next year. That's kind of what we're looking at here. It's kind of how I expect them to go in this offseason and what I expect from them next year out of that offseason. The attritions and the good things and the bad, really. The Dallas Cowboys, honestly bad. Brian Schottenheimer, what are we doing? What are we doing? I don't really have any idea what the point of that was. We can just skip over that. The Detroit Lions, I think this one's a tough one. I'm going to put them in fine. I think Ben Johnson is a loss that you just really can't replace, at least not quickly. Not to mention Aaron Glenn, another loss that you really just can't replace very quickly. They may not be bad, but are they going to be good? Yeah, probably. They'll be good, but will they be as good as they have been? I think they're going to take some hits. Now, can they stay healthy next year? That's a huge question. Maybe that alone helps them remain, steadfast, and they're able to make some use out of next season. But replacing Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson both in 1 year is going to be very, very, very tough. So that's a big question mark that we have to face here. Miami Dolphins, I'm going to put them in this flatline tier here. Tua's just not him. He just isn't. And, he's a good bridge guy. He's a good gap spacer for a little while, but you're paying him like $50 million now to be a gap guy. It's not good. Tua's not good enough. Can he be good enough? I doubt it, but I guess it's possible. He still is relatively young. But if he is going to be, he's got to be healthy, and that's just not going to happen at this point. So, moving on. The Raiders, I'm going to put them in good. I'm a fan of what they got going on in Vegas, man. Pete Carroll, Chip Kelly. I don't remember who they signed as the defensive coordinator right now. I'm kind of blanking. Moving. I've not hardly been paying attention, but I have. But, you're going to get guys like that, like Pete Carroll and Chip Kelly at least, who that's something that intrigues players. They're in Vegas. They're in this, nice city of a lot of things, a lot of maybe good or bad things, who knows. But you bring in some culture guys. You bring in Tom Brady as an owner. Max Crosby, those veterans are going to enjoy that. I promise you. Give them some good time, and I think we'll be on the right track here. Baltimore, they have some impending free agents. They're not really going to lose any coaches, I don't think. I think they'll be fine. I just don't know that Baltimore's ever going to get it done with Lamar Jackson. And I mean, you're as good as Derrick Henry was, and as much as we talked about it prior to this season, he's only getting older, and that is a fact, and he's not going to be great forever. So, big question mark there in Baltimore. We've got to wait and see on that one. Let's go to the Jets. They get Aaron Glenn. Are they going to bring back Aaron Rodgers? I'm going to put them in this flat line here because, honestly, there's such a big question. Garrett Wilson looks like he wants out. Aaron Rodgers is a question mark, and he's a question mark if he's there or not. Because if he's there, is he Aaron Rodgers still, or is he some shell of himself? It's just a huge question that we just don't have answers to, and we won't have answers to until probably next September when we see them step on the field for the first time. Let's go to Tampa Bay. Give me... Liam Cohen's gone. That's not great. But I don't know. I think they'll be fine. Liam Cohen, he was a kind of a one-year guy that really stepped up and went crazy in Dave Canales' absence. He's been a coach for a long time, but, he really stood out this year, and that's great. That's awesome. He got a head coaching job out of it. I think there's going to be some, maybe, they got to fill the gaps and make it where it is, but it's really more about roster building for them. They have issues. Jamel Dean might be a casualty. They may have to make a trade or something to bring in some actual assets outside of some rookies. They've got a lot to fix on that defense in terms of just player representation. I think they're in for it a lot this offseason, but can they do it? Not to mention they're probably going to lose Chris Godwin. They probably should let him walk. Mike Evans is only getting older. A lot of questions surrounding this Bucs team, to be quite honest. The Minnesota Vikings, I think they'll be good, honestly. Let's be real. They have Sam Darnold. He's an impending free agent. That's a question. That's a big, big, big question. But Sam Darnold kind of crapped his pants in the last couple weeks of the season. They did draft J.J. McCarthy in the first round last year, who was, he tore his meniscus and was able to miss a lot of the season. Do they start J.J. McCarthy? Do they just go with him? I don't really see why not. Do they bring back Sam Darnold for $40 million a year when he, couldn't keep up in the playoffs? I don't really know why they would. Big question there. I really honestly think if Sam Darnold's market is lower than they expect, maybe shoot him an offer around 30. That's a pretty good offer for a quarterback of his caliber. But you really make it, hey, Sam, this is, I mean, it's a 2-year deal. You know, the second year there may be some kind of option or out year for the Vikings. And it's, hey, this is it. Like, you got to figure it out here, and you got to prove that you can be better than J.J. McCarthy, who didn't even have a rookie year to this point in his career. So, show it to us. And that's really their big question. That's really their big question. The Jaguars. Liam Cohen. Whatever that's worth. Give me bad, honestly. I don't think... The Jaguars have one thing they can do that can make me think they'll be good this next year, and that's drafting Travis Hunter. And the problem is they're not really in a position to draft Travis Hunter. They're in a rough spot. They are in a very rough spot. They need a corner. They need a receiver. Well, guess who that is? That's Travis Hunter. That would be very helpful to get somebody outside of Brian Thomas. They need to let go of Christian Kirk. They're paying him way too much money to be average as a receiver. They're the Jacksonville Jaguars. They got rid of Trent Baalke, actually. You know what? Baalke's gone. You get a tier. That's what you get. You get a... Yeah, that's good enough. Kansas City, elite. I mean, they're Kansas City. Whether they win or lose this Super Bowl, they'll be back. They'll be back. We know it. I hope Travis Kelce retires. We don't have to hear about him anymore. I'm tired of hearing about him. It's just ridiculous at this point. I'm going to be honest. I'm hate watching. Absolutely. Give me Philly in the Super Bowl. Absolutely. And speaking of Philly, let's just go ahead and put them in elite too. Philly debatably has the best roster in this entire league. And I say debatably. It's really not that debatable. Their roster is incredibly good. They are lacking an edge rusher. I think they are a very much favorite target of mine for Myles Garrett to land. That would be an awesome place for him to go. They don't really have a number one edge rusher. Zach Bond can do some stuff, but he's not really an edge rusher. They have Jalen Carter. They have Jordan Phillips on the inside, and they have, they got in, what's his name? The guy they paid probably way too much money. I can't remember his name right now. I see his face. I gotta look it up. Hold on. Bryce Huff. I just can't remember, dude. Bryce Huff, he brought him in. He didn't do nothing. That's why I can't remember. So they need an edge rusher pretty bad. But, I mean, they make it work. They're just the Eagles, man. They may lose Kellen Moore. And, honestly, that's not a great thing. But for the Eagles, they're a good franchise, man. They can replace them. They'll be fine. The Patriots, honestly, they could be pretty good. I'm going to put them in good. They're probably the worst team that's going to land in good because they have so much cap space. They have so many great assets in terms of draft picks and capital in general. They can do a lot of good stuff. Now, the problem is going to be, DK Metcalf came out and said, hey, what do you think about a trade to the Patriots? And he said, I don't want to live in Massachusetts. And that's a fair point, honestly. They need to go break the bank for T. Higgins, for Chris Godwin, for a big-time receiver. They need Drake May to develop. They need him to keep going. They can't let him stall out. Now, beyond from that, after that, I guess, what else? A lineman, an edge rusher, a linebacker, corner, basically everything that's not a quarterback. Now, granted, they bring in Mike Vrabel. That's a great sign. Absolutely great sign. You can't really beat that. Absolutely. And props to them for moving off Gerard Mayo when it was just absolutely obvious he wasn't the guy. It's a good offseason already, man. Get over it. Texans, I don't know, man. They're in a weird spot. They fire Slowick, which I think was stupid. Last year, Slowick was like, oh, is this guy going to be a head coach soon? And now it's like, oh, he's fired. So dumb. So dumb. Give me this tier, honestly. I just don't know that they're a good franchise. I think that's the problem. And I have a saying, and you may have heard it before, bad franchises remain bad franchises until they're not bad franchises. And generally, that starts with ownership. Not generally. It always does start with ownership. So what are they going to do? I don't know. I mean, Stephon Diggs is older. Tank Dell can't stay healthy. Nico Collins looks really good, but CJ Stroud looks fine. Fine. We'll say fine. That's really all you can say. I just don't really know what's in it for him, honestly. I can't really explain what they can do to get better. They have a good... They need Stroud to upgrade. That's what they do. They need Stroud to take another step. That's really how they get better. That's about the only way they get better. Bringing in an OC that can actually do that may be your answer. Maybe it's not. I don't know. Do something, Texans, please. Bengals, honestly, they're probably going to have a bad offseason. They really are not in a good spot at all. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Trey Murphy. What is this, the NBA? Trey Hendrickson. Speaking of Luka, holy moly. Sorry, tangent here, but a whole nother, wow. Anyways, Trey Hendrickson, they're all basically off contract, or if not, they will be next year. What are you going to do? Their owner's a cheapskate. What are you going to do? Honestly, I don't know that they know. And they've already addressed it. They're just not going to be able to keep everybody. So who's out? I mean, T. Higgins needs to be number one that's out. Hendrickson and Chase are just better than him at their own positions. What are you going to do? I don't know. Moving on. Chargers, I think they'll be good, man. I think they could have a really good year next year. They had a good year this year. They stunk it up in the playoffs. But first year with new coach and new regime and all that stuff, they didn't really have a lot of weapons anywhere outside of Justin Herbert. They need a tight end. They need another receiver, a number one receiver. Look, McConkey, as good as he was this year, he's a number two receiver at best. They need a running back that is more than just what they have. They need help all over the offense. They had a really good defense this year, but their offense just wasn't it. Give them some help, and they could be really good. They have assets. They can get it done. Just go do it, man. Go get you a, if you can get, if somehow Tedero McMillan falls, if Tyler Warren falls, if, I don't even know, man. There's, you can get a running back in round one. Maybe Genty falls. I don't know. There's a lot of things there that I would really like to see. Moving on. Buffalo, they're elite, dude. This was supposed to be a rebuild year for them. And if you think, like, oh, Buffalo sucks, they can't ever get it done. This was a rebuild year for Buffalo. They were not supposed to be good. Diggs, Poyer, Hyde, they were all gone. All their key pieces. And as I was correct in, I've said it before, I'll say it again. I'm going to flaunt it when I'm right, but I'll say when I'm wrong too. I was dead right about this one, okay? When they left, everybody's like, oh, they're done for. They're cooked, whatever. I was like, dude, this is an addition by subtraction. They got the ego out of the way. They got the contracts out of the way. And next year is going to be good for them. They still are in an iffy contract space, but there's a lot they can do. They can go get more weapons. They can help Josh Allen out. They can get more on the defensive side because they're always injured on the defensive side. There's things they need to do, absolutely. But the Buffalo Bills are not going anywhere with Josh Allen under center for a long time. The New York Giants, are you existing? They passed on Jaden Daniels. The dude's son told him to draft Jaden Daniels. They passed on him. Honestly, I say they passed on him. They didn't trade up for him. The fact that he asked that question means that he probably had the offer. But who knows at the same time. I'm not going to speak for them. But they're the Giants, and they suck, actually. That's kind of the entire reason here. The Saints, they're kind of in the same spot, honestly. They're a terrible cap situation. They don't really have very many good players, and the ones they do have are just not really that special. Their best player is probably Chris Olave. I like Olave as a wide receiver, too. That's about it. He's not really any better than that. And I like Olave a lot. I really do. It's just being real with it. Yeah, I don't think they've been aware that they were an NFL team for the last 10 years. With the contracts they've given out, with the things that has happened in their franchise, they're not in a good spot whatsoever, and they're going to have to figure that out quick. They're going to have to figure that one out real quick. The Rams, I think they'll be fine, man. I think they'll be fine this offseason going into next season. And this is not saying like the Rams and the Ravens are going to have the same record as the Bucs. Like, I expect the Ravens to do have a better record. I just think it'll be different. It's just different expectations, right? But the Rams, they're going to probably trade Cooper Kupp. Probably a good thing. I say probably. It definitely is a good thing. They need to. It's over with Cooper Kupp. It is what it is. Move on. Sorry, you're a legend for the team, but that's it. Move on. They just need to keep doing that. Figure out if Stafford is going to be here for much longer, and if not, what's your contingency plan? Because, well, you're going downhill fast without him. The Pittsburgh Steelers. I think they'll be fine, man. Well, the Pittsburgh Steelers may have the most back and forth option this offseason. They really do. So the quarterback is their big question, right? And let's be real. The quarterback market is not very pretty. It's not going to line out well for them. So basically it's Justin Fields, Russell Wilson. Either way, you're bringing in probably a rookie quarterback as well. My opinion, and the correct opinion, to be quite honest with you, Justin Fields sucks. He's been in the league for 4 years and has done absolutely nothing. But he had 10 touchdowns and 1 pick because he threw 12 passes a game. Stop it. Stop it. He can run. Wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. I don't want a quarterback who can run. I want a quarterback who can move because I want you to throw the ball. That's what a quarterback does. That's how a quarterback wins. No quarterback that runs wins Super Bowls. Quarterbacks that move win Super Bowls. Quarterbacks like Patrick Mahomes. Quarterbacks like, I know he hasn't won one yet or whatever, but Josh Allen. He's a Super Bowl caliber quarterback because he moves, not he runs. He can use his legs, but he doesn't have to. His arm is just as good. That's the kicker. Give me Russ. Give me 3rd round, 4th round, Will Howard, Jackson Dart. Give me that right there. Let them see if they can play up to next year. Let Russ come in. You know, Russ was fine. Yeah, he played a little bit rough the last 5 weeks. He also lost George Pickens for 3 of those weeks. Then he came back and George Pickens wasn't the same. I don't think he was fully healthy. A hamstring, a groin injury, they're hard to get over. I think it was kind of just a circumstance that was there. And honestly, I'm not that concerned about the Pittsburgh Steelers. People think they should fire Tomlin. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. Tomlin is one of the greatest coaches of all time. And, he doesn't win playoff games. Look who he has. Look at the teams he has. Look at him. Just tell me where he should win. Tell me what team he should beat. The teams he's played, tell me which time he should beat them. There's maybe two of them that he should have won. Either way, that's a soapbox I can get off of. They'll be fine. Bring back Russ. Get a Will Howard. Get a Jackson Dart. Actually, I haven't watched a lot of film yet, and I need to get caught up on that. But I think I might like what Will Howard is. I think I might like that a lot. The Commanders, they'll be good. They'll be good. We're not worried about them. As long as they can get them an edge rusher, get them some weapons behind Terry McLaurin, they'll be fine. I ain't worried about it. Cardinals, they got to figure out what Kyler Murray's doing because I don't think he's doing a whole lot. I don't think he's doing a whole lot at all. That's a big question, a huge question. Honestly, I don't know. Sneaky little thing here. Kyler Murray could be traded. You know who else could be traded? Well, Cooper Kupp's going to be traded. You know who else could be traded? Matthew Stafford could be traded. Cooper Kupp and Matthew Stafford to Pittsburgh? Just kind of throwing that out there. I don't know. What do I know? Nothing. Broncos, give me this one right here. You might think, oh, you're hating. I kind of am. Sure. In a way. I'm not hating. I'm saying, hey, look, Bo Nix had a great season, but is it going to stick around? Same thing with Jaden Daniels. Is it going to stick around? You know, C.J. Stroud, he was so good in year one, and then he didn't play well last year. Let's not jump the gun. Don't give expectations to these guys. I've said this for 2 or 3 years now on this channel. We can't just expect everybody to be super good. Not everyone's a superstar. I don't know. I've got to see it play out. I've got to see Bo Nix continue to improve before I give him that. The Niners, give him here, man. They got to pay Purdy. I don't know that that's a good thing. I don't think they should pay him what he's going to want to make and what they're probably going to have to pay him. I don't know if it's worth it. I think it might be better to find another quarterback in some senses. Purdy's fine. Purdy's good. He's a top 15 quarterback, but he's probably 10 to 15. But the problem with Purdy is simply the fact that he's not special. He's a good guy on a team that's loaded. Yeah, you can get a lot of guys who can do that. I don't know that he's kind of where things begin and end. I just don't think so. Tennessee, yeah, I don't know what they're doing. I don't really think they know what they're doing. They're saying they're going to go with the generational players. That tells me Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter probably. I also think it's just, they're just saying words. There's not really anything there at all. So anyways, the Atlanta Falcons, bad. They paid Kirk Cousins $1.5 billion. They're going to have to deal with that. However, I mean, he's probably not going to play. Penix is their future for now, at least. He looks like he's going to be. Whether that's good or bad, we don't know yet. But, yeah, I don't really have a lot of hope for them. Their best receiver is the Drake London, who I just don't think is that amazing. So I don't know what you expect Penix to do. London had a great year, don't get me wrong, but he's got to prove himself, just like all the quarterbacks do as well. The Tennessee Titans, I said the Tennessee Titans, what in the world? The Indianapolis Colts, you're going to go draft Tyler Warren, and think that Anthony Richardson's going to be good? No, they need to be a team that goes and gets like a. If Shadur falls, I would like him here. Honestly, it's not a really fun location, but it'd probably be a good location for him. They need like a Jackson Dart could be decent. Will Howard could be decent, but at the same time, you're not getting those guys round 1, maybe even round 2. Quinn Ewers, that'd be a good one, round 2. I think that makes a lot of sense actually. But there's just so much they need to do, man. They're just in a bad spot. I don't think there's much there. And finally, the Panthers. I'm going to put them here. Bryce Young showed flashes. He looks like he can be doing something. Xavier Legette didn't do a whole lot. Looks like he might be a bust, honestly, if you compare his numbers to some of the famous bust receivers throughout the last few years. Very similar numbers if you haven't seen that graphic. But either way, if Bryce Young can be good, you might have a good starting point here. Go get you an edge rusher. Go get you a James Pearson round 1. Go get you a receiver, Luther Burden maybe. Go get you a Mecca Buka maybe. Go get you a veteran, a couple veterans here and there. Sprinkle them in and see if you can do something here, man. I think there is something building here, but I'm not sure. I really just don't know where to look at them yet. Give me for the Panthers, man. That's all I can say. Either way, that's it for this video. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you think. What are your kind of expectations for this offseason going into next year for each of these teams? Let me know down in the comments below. Make sure you hit that like button and that subscribe button. They don't cost you a single thing, and it helps my channel out a ton, especially after these 10 days of missing all these videos. But either way, thank y'all. I'll see y'all in the next one.